Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we aren't just summarizing a story. We are really descending into a highly pressurized psychological landscape.
It's a really intense one.
It is. Our focus is Dr. Chloe Davis. She's a psychologist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and her whole professional life is built around helping people process trauma.
Right. But her personal life is defined by this just catastrophic event.
Her father was the infamous Bro Bridge killer, a serial murderer of young girls 20 years ago.
And that history, it's not just background noise in this story, it's the entire foundation of this deep dive.
Absolutely.
Our mission today is to really unpack the source material here. We're talking police reports, these cryptic patient files, splintered personal memories, everything Chloe has to sift through when a new series of disappearances strikes her city.
Right, it's happening all over again.
Exactly. And we're going to be looking at how this deep-seated fear she has, her inherited reputation, and this is critical misdirected trust, how all that fuels a really dangerous personal investigation.
We want to get to the bottom of the shocking revelation at the end.
We do, and really analyze the true cost of, familial sacrifice and this idea of inherited violence.
And for you listening, the relevance here is pretty profound. I mean, this story is a deep exploration of whether you can truly escape your past, or if the trauma you inherited just inevitably dictates your future choices, especially when it comes to who you trust.
Let's start with Dr. Chloe Davis, the professional, because that's how we first meet her.
Okay.
She's built her entire career, her entire identity, around the very thing that broke her childhood apart.
She specializes in helping young people process these really deep-seated issues that she recognizes almost intimately,
Things like abandonment, low self-esteem, what she herself labels as daddy issues.
It's an almost perfect, incredibly painful example of turning trauma into a vocation.
It is, and I find that psychological dynamic just fascinating. She uses her own knowledge of suffering to connect with her patients.
She relies on these therapeutic cliches, but she does it because she knows from the inside out just how excruciatingly true they are.
Yeah, she can spot the pattern of abandonment because she lived it, but that boundary, it's so thin.
It's paper thin. And this leads us immediately to the stark irony of her life.
Go on.
While she presents as this controlled professional healer, her internal world is a catastrophe.
Total catastrophe. Her sources describe what she experiences as a perpetual slideshow of anxiety disorders, just looping through her mind.
We're talking chronic insomnia,
Intense hypochondria,
paralyzing panic attacks, and crucially, nyctophobia, this pathological, debilitating fear of the dark.
And this isn't just an internal struggle, it actually affects her ethics.
Big time. To cope with all this internal chaos, she is self-medicating heavily with Xanax.
Right. And the way she gets it is a major ethical breach.
She's writing fake prescriptions using her fiancé Daniel's name. This isn't just like a casual dependency. She's actively compromising her professional license, her integrity.
And she stores this sanctuary of pills, as it's called, in her office drawer.
Right where her most confidential patient files are kept.
That detail is so key. A psychologist whose entire career is built on the integrity of trust and confidentiality is mirroring the secrecy and the moral compromise that ruined her family 2 decades ago.
That's a great point. It immediately raises the question. Is she just a victim of trauma, or is she demonstrating this, inherited tendency toward moral flexibility when she's under duress?
That's exactly what struck me. She is subconsciously reenacting the very secrecy that enabled her father's crimes in the first place.
Wow.
But this unstable personal world she's in, it gets violently interrupted when we meet her patient, a 15-year-old girl named Lacey Deckler.
Lacey's case is the spark. It's the immediate spark for the whole disaster.
It is. In that session, Lacey confesses this intense, unprocessed anger over her father leaving 2 years prior. This is raw, immediate material that just strikes way too close to Chloe's core wound.
And Lacey reveals this physical self-harm. These tiny hidden cuts described chillingly as hairs of glass tucked away in the skin between her fingers.
Showing that emotional pain is manifesting physically.
And Chloe, she recognizes that intense feeling of abandonment, and she crosses an ethical boundary herself. She does it to try and pull Lacey out of her shell.
What's she do?
She reveals that her own father also left when she was 12.
Wow.
It's this moment of profound shared vulnerability, right? It's designed to establish trust, but it instantly connects Chloe's deepest secret, to her professional practice.
And this fragile moment of connection just collapses into absolute horror almost immediately.
Yeah. We learned that another 15-year-old, Aubrey Gravino, was found dead in Cypress Cemetery.
And then 3 days later, Lacey Deckler vanishes.
The realization for Chloe must have been absolutely devastating. Lacey was her last appointment on Friday afternoon.
So her office, her professional safe space?
That was the last place the missing girl was seen alive.
Oh, that's chilling. And the police, naturally, they descend on her immediately.
Of course. And this forces her right back into the narrative she spent 2 decades trying to escape. Detective Thomas and Officer Doyle interview her, and the tension is, you can feel it immediately.
They press her relentlessly on the contents of Lacey's session, right? They're trying to force her to violate patient confidentiality.
They corner her with that classic ethical trap. You have strict confidentiality, yes, but what if breaking it could save a life?
And Chloe, despite her personal breaches with the Xanax, she stands firm on her professional oath.
Which, ironically, makes her look highly suspicious to the police. She knows exactly what they're doing.
And what they're doing is connecting dots based purely on history, on her name.
They make the immediate, chilling association between the timing of these new crimes, her accidental proximity to the victims, and her notorious last name, Davis.
For Chloe, this has to be instant psychological transference. She's projecting 20 years of small-town suspicion and fear onto those officers.
Exactly. She knows that in their minds, the daughter of the serial killer is already the common dark thread, regardless of the facts.
The fear isn't just about being a suspect. It's about being perpetually guilty by association. She can't escape the name Davis and the police. They make sure she knows it.
And to really appreciate the weight of that police suspicion, we have to travel back to the source of the trauma.
Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, 1999.
This is where Chloe spent the summer of her 12th year, the summer that irrevocably shaped her entire life.
Breaux Bridge. It's known as the crawfish capital of the world. But it was anything but quaint that summer.
No.
6 girls began disappearing, and it plunged the town into this state of just panic and mutual distrust. Curfews were enforced. The whole atmosphere was thick with anxiety.
The sources describe a young Chloe feeling this omnipresent evil lurking behind every corner. She was anticipating that she would be next. The fear was physical. It was palpable.
And that feeling of pervasive dread is so crucial to understanding her adult nyctophobia. The darkness wasn't just the absence of light for her.
No, it was the active presence of evil.
Yes, symbolized by the goneness of those girls. An evil that had literally settled over the sky of her hometown.
She's been trying to turn the lights on ever since.
And central to this original terror was a girl named Lena Rhodes.
Chloe describes Lena as mesmerizing, loud, confident, fundamentally boundary-pushing.
She was the kind of girl who commanded attention, which made her disappearance all the more shocking and defining for the town. She became the face of the fear.
And the defining moment in Chloe's life, the moment she truly lost her innocence, was when she became the agent of her own father's downfall.
How did that happen?
She was just searching for scarves in his closet, and she found this hidden jewelry box.
You have to describe what was in that box, because those artifacts are everything to this story.
Inside were the killer's trophies. Items taken from the victims. Specifically, Lena's unique firefly belly button ring and another girl's, Robin McGill's, pearl necklace.
Wow. For a 12-year-old to find that collection of stolen intimacy, physical proof of murder hidden by her own father.
It's an instant, devastating conversion from a normal life to absolute horror. It forced her to recognize the monster in her own home.
And her father, Richard Davis, was arrested shortly after that.
Yeah, he pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. But his explanation, or really the lack thereof, is what haunted Chloe for 2 decades.
What did he say?
When they asked him why he murdered 6 innocent girls, he just offered this vague, terrifying statement. I have a darkness inside of me that comes out at night.
That ambiguity is so critical. It gave Chloe no psychological closure, no motive she could ever rationalize.
None at all. Was it mental illness? Was it pure evil?
By providing only a cryptic, terrorizing cliché, her father left this huge void of understanding that Chloe has spent her entire adult life trying to fill, both professionally and personally.
And now, 2 decades later, that haunting ambiguity is back.
Lacey's body is found.
Yes, stashed behind a dumpster in the alleyway right behind Chloe's office.
That proximity cannot be a coincidence.
No way. The new case immediately starts mimicking the Breaux Bridge killer's methods, specifically this idea of taking trophies.
That's right. When Chloe is asked to identify anything missing from Lacey's body, she zeroes in on the girl's beaded bracelet. It had been covering a jagged purple scar on her wrist.
And it was gone.
It was gone. And going back to the earlier victim, Aubrey Gravino, Chloe realizes the single earring they found at the cemetery was part of a set, meaning the matching necklace would also be missing.
The implication is just terrifying, and it's undeniable. The new killer isn't just targeting girls who fit the profile of the original victims.
No, they are actively collecting their jewelry as souvenirs,
Directly linking their actions to her father's signature method.
This moves the investigation beyond mere coincidence and squarely into the realm of a copycat killer.
And the focus shifts entirely. It's now about finding the person obsessed with her father, and terrifyingly, with Chloe herself.
This rising fear and the definitive link to her father's case, it forces Chloe to turn her intense professional gaze inward. She has to scrutinize the two most important men in her adult life.
Her fiancé, Daniel Briggs, and her older brother, Cooper.
Let's start with Daniel. He is presented at first as the antidote to all of Chloe's chaos.
Right, a handsome, polished pharmaceutical sales executive, described with almost absurd perfection. I think it mentions even his teeth are the result of expensive adolescent orthodontia.
He just swept the emotionally guarded, traumatized Chloe off her feet after meeting her in a hospital lobby.
The courtship was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And it feels like it was designed maybe to overwhelm her natural caution.
They got engaged so quickly, planning a wedding for July, and here's the insidious detail.
Oh, the timing.
The timing. It was 20 years to the month from when the original Bro Bridge girls started going missing.
Is that a strange coincidence, or is that an unnerving tribute?
Exactly. And the speed and perfection of Daniel's whole persona immediately grates on Cooper, her older brother.
Cooper is fiercely protective of Chloe. He experienced the trauma right alongside her, but he is deeply distrustful of Daniel, criticizing him constantly.
Cooper is positioned as the voice of reason here. He's pointing out that Daniel simply cannot know the real Chloe, the damaged Chloe who's living under this burden of anxiety and paranoia.
And the tension just culminates at their surprise engagement party.
What happens there?
Daniel, trying to be romantic, turns off all the lights in the house, a gesture that immediately triggers Chloe's deep-seated nyctophobia.
Oh, no.
Her reaction is primal. Her hand instantly flies to her purse, searching for a weapon she doesn't even carry.
And Cooper sees this reaction.
He sees it, and he uses it against Daniel. He says, "You don't know her, Daniel. You don't know the fear."
So he's suggesting that he's the one who understands her trauma on a molecular level. He's establishing himself as her true protector.
It's a critical piecing in this direction that works on Chloe, and initially, it works on you as you're taking in the story.
So once Chloe internalizes this copycat theory, she has to start treating Daniel as a suspect. She has to.
She reviews his alibi for Lacey's disappearance. Daniel claimed he was running late from work, arriving home only about 20 minutes before Chloe did.
That 20-minute window, it's surgically precise.
It's just enough time, hypothetically, for him to have grabbed Lacey outside Chloe's office,
Quickly stashed the body behind the dumpster.
driven home, showered, and changed clothes. She starts fixating on these small sensory details,
Like what?
like his strong, spiced body wash scent. She wonders, was that the smell of a clean man, or the smell of someone desperately trying to mask the scent of an alleyway?
The paranoia deepens. And then comes this horrifying silent confirmation.
She visits her mother.
Her mother, who is institutionalized, frail, and nonverbal, a victim of her own psychological collapse after her husband's arrest.
And when Chloe talks about the missing girls and the new danger, her mother grabs her hand, and she tries to communicate through this frantic finger tapping.
This scene is just emotionally devastating.
It is. The mother, having lost the ability to speak, is desperately trying to convey some truth. Chloe focuses, interpreting the TAPS letter by agonizing letter.
And it spells out D-A-N-I-E-L.
Daniel. The message is clear. The person her mother believes is involved, or who knows something dark, is her fiancé.
For Chloe, who is so desperate for any validation of her anxiety, this is just a gut punch.
She wants to dismiss it as her mother's fading mind, but she can't. This silent warning from the person closest to the original crime acts as the final confirmation that Daniel is hiding something terrible.
And that suspicion turns to certainty when Chloe digs into Daniel's background.
She visits his childhood home, which is surprisingly dilapidated, by the way. It can contrast so sharply with the wealthy image he projects, and she finds a horrifying piece of evidence.
Hidden in his copy of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
A decades-old newspaper clipping. about her father's case.
And crucially, the clipping doesn't focus on the murders.
No, it focuses on her family's internal strife, specifically detailing her mother's affairs and all the family secrets the trial exposed to the public.
So this proves that Daniel wasn't just attracted to the guarded, mysterious Chloe he met in the hospital lobby.
He was obsessed with the sordid public details of her family's past, and specifically with her, long before they ever even spoke.
That fundamentally shatters her trust. He didn't fall in love with her.
He inserted himself into her narrative.
With Daniel now established as this highly suspicious figure, if not the killer, then at least a stalker obsessed with her family's notorious past, Chloe leans fully into the idea that a copycat is watching her.
And she starts relying on Aaron Jansen, the investigative reporter, who really solidifies this theory for her.
Aaron's theory is highly compelling. The killer is obsessed with her father and is deliberately reenacting the crimes in Baton Rouge, constantly watching Chloe.
Right. It makes her feel hunted. But paradoxically, it also provides a sense of structure. If it's a copycat, they're trying to connect with the source, with her.
But this need for structure leads her down a series of dead ends.
Her initial paranoia immediately fixes on a man named Burt Rhodes.
Burt Rhodes, that's Lena Rhodes' father, right, from the original crime.
Exactly. And his marriage was ruined by his wife's affair with Chloe's father. So Burt is driven by rage and revenge against the entire Davis family. Chloe suspects him as the copycat,
Seeking vengeance by targeting the daughter.
and this suspicion is magnified because Daniel, in an attempt to be supportive and protective, unknowingly facilitated the danger.
How?
Daniel hired Burt, who installs security systems, to work at their house.
Oh, that is awful. She feels profoundly unsafe. She realizes Burt, whose daughter was murdered by her father, or so she believes, is now stalking her in her own sanctuary.
She sees the hatred in his eyes. She's feeling the full weight of 20 years of misplaced fury.
But the narrative provides this stunning pivot with the double cross involving Aaron Jansen.
The setup is genius. Chloe finds Aubrey's missing, personalized necklace, the key trophy taken by the killer, in a jewelry box hidden in her own closet.
This forces the horrific conclusion that she's being framed.
Right. Maybe by Daniel, or maybe by Cooper, or maybe by this reporter she's come to trust.
So, desperate for help and reassurance, she meets Aaron Jansen at a motel.
Yes. And after a period of intimacy, Chloe's professional instincts, fueled by her extreme anxiety, they flare up. She notes this sudden, cold change in his demeanor.
So she checks his press credentials.
And she discovers the truth. The badge is fake. His real name is Tyler Price, a local man from Breaux Bridge.
The betrayal is immediate and total.
Tyler Price, now cornered, he confesses to a devastating act. He admits to taking Riley, who is Shannon's 15-year-old daughter, the previous night while Chloe slept beside him in the motel.
Driven by sheer terror, believing she is now face-to-face with the man who took Riley.
Chloe grabs the gun she brought for protection and she shoots him.
Wow. This is a monumental emotional pivot. Chloe, the psychologist dedicated to nonviolence and healing, has just pulled the trigger.
She believes she has killed the serial killer. She's sacrificed her own future for the safety of Riley.
But the subsequent police investigation reveals the complex truth.
Tyler Price was a red herring.
The police confirm he was a local from Breaux Bridge with a minor record who had been spotted lingering at Aubrey's crime scene.
So Tyler was not the actual serial killer. He was an opportunist. He was involved in the case itself, attempting to mimic the Breaux Bridge killer's style.
Taking Riley, planting the necklace.
All of it. Purely for notoriety and to force this intimate relationship with Chloe, the famous daughter.
That's a chilling exploration of true crime obsession.
It really is. Tyler didn't commit the original murders, but he inserted himself into the ongoing chaos, trying to steal the spotlight and exploit Chloe's fear.
So she was right to fear someone watching her, but she shot the wrong person, believing him to be the monster she'd been tracking.
With Tyler Price exposed as an opportunist and Chloe reeling from the moral shock of shooting him, the entire case now rests on Daniel.
And Chloe is forced to confront the depth of her misdirected fear and her readiness to believe the absolute worst in those she supposedly loves.
The tension finally breaks when Daniel contacts her. He reveals that he knows about Tyler Price and confirms, unequivocally, that Tyler was not the killer.
More importantly, he proves his work trip alibi.
Right. He wasn't running late from work. He was making secret, covert visits to her father, Richard Davis, at the Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola.
And the proof is simple but irrefutable.
A receipt for gas and a sleeve of sunflower seeds, her father's favorite snack. It confirmed his prison visit. Daniel's motive for the secrecy was immediately benevolent, a sharp contrast to the evil Chloe had assumed.
And Daniel confesses his true secret. He finally reveals the real purpose of his obsession and the reason he had that old newspaper clipping about the Davis family secrets.
What was it?
He was seeking advice from Chloe's father on how to protect someone from a monster and how to keep a secret.
And the person he was protecting
Was his sister, Sophie Briggs. Daniel reveals the truth that she never went missing back in 1999, as he had implied.
So what really happened?
Daniel, who was then a 17-year-old boy, helped Sophie run away to escape their severely abusive father. He hid her safely in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
So his fabricated story about his sister's disappearance, it was a decades-long act of radical protection.
Exactly. His obsession with Chloe's family secrets wasn't malicious. It was rooted in finding kinship with someone whose life had also been irrevocably scarred by a monstrous father.
He needed to ensure his sister's secret exile remained safe. So he sought advice from the ultimate expert in keeping a devastating secret.
So Daniel is cleared. His character is redeemed as a protector, albeit a fiercely secretive one, but this leaves the core mystery unsolved.
If Daniel wasn't the copycat, and Chloe's father took the blame in 1999, then who actually committed the Bridge murders? Who owned that jewelry box?
The question points Chloe to the one person she trusted implicitly, the one person who served as her emotional bedrock after the murders.
Her older brother, Cooper?
Chloe confronts him. And Cooper. Cooper finally confesses the horrifying ultimate truth.
He was the Bridge killer.
It wasn't the father, Richard Davis. It was 15-year-old Cooper who murdered those 6 girls that summer.
This rewrite of history is just devastating.
Cooper reveals that the jewelry box with Lena's firefly ring and Robin's necklace, it belonged to him.
And their father found the box hidden under Cooper's floorboard, and in an instant made this profound, agonizing decision of familial sacrifice.
He took the blame to protect his son.
The moment of the father's arrest, which Chloe viewed as the ultimate moment of betrayal, was actually the ultimate act of self-sacrifice.
He looked only at Cooper, whispering the devastating command, "Be good."
That phrase, it wasn't a confession of guilt. It was a desperate plea to his monstrous son to stop killing right before he stepped into a life sentence to save him.
And Cooper explains his motive. It wasn't the vague darkness their father described.
No, Cooper killed Lena Rose because she knew he was the killer. And as he puts it, she became drunk with power, testing him, making her a liability.
And the rest of the murders were just about control.
His motive was purely predatory. Cooper sought control and derived this cold pleasure from wielding the power of life and death over his victims.
He confirms the final chilling piece of the puzzle. The bodies of his 6 victims were never found because they are still hidden in the hidden cavern.
A secret spot he and Chloe knew from childhood, deep in the Louisiana swamp.
The monster was never a vague darkness. It was the person who claimed to be her strongest protector.
This final revelation forces us to fundamentally reevaluate the father's life. Richard Davis. He traded his own freedom, his reputation, and his entire life to save his monstrous son.
It is perhaps the most twisted, agonizing definition of parental love imaginable.
It raises these profound ethical and moral questions that the sources really linger on. The father, a good man, was faced with an impossible choice.
Turn his teenage son over to the death penalty or sacrifice himself to hopefully contain the evil.
And he chose to protect his child, no matter the cost.
But was that sacrifice heroic? Or was it the ultimate act of enabling?
That's the question. By shielding Cooper from the consequences, he guaranteed Cooper's psychological survival while damning himself.
And, equally importantly, allowing Cooper's predatory nature to continue festering undetected for 20 years.
And we have to analyze the mother's role in all this.
Chloe realizes her mother must have known the truth shortly after Chloe presented that jewelry box. The father must have confessed to her.
And the mother then chose to lie to the defense attorney to protect Cooper.
That act of enabling her son's freedom while watching her husband condemn himself led directly to her immediate psychological unraveling.
And her subsequent institutionalization.
That makes the mother's frantic, nonverbal communication suddenly take on a whole new meaning.
Right. Her tapping out Daniel wasn't necessarily an accusation against the fiancé.
It was a desperate, frustrated attempt to guide Chloe away from the surface distractions. The copycat, the journalist, the fiancé, and towards the core truth.
The one that only her husband, Daniel's covert contact, could confirm.
The ultimate climax comes when Cooper, still operating from this place of cold control, threatens Chloe. He grips her wrist.
Confirming that she, too, would have been eliminated if she became a liability. He treats her not as his sister, but as a potential victim.
And in that moment, Chloe finally breaks the cycle.
Her parents chose silence, enabling, and institutionalization. Chloe chooses the truth over protection.
She calls the authorities, ensuring Cooper faces justice and finally breaking the toxic generational pattern of lies and familial enabling that had dominated her life for 2 decades.
Her journey of closure concludes with this final, symbolic act that's rooted in compassion, a trait that was just absent in her family's past.
She travels to Hattiesburg, Mississippi to meet Daniel's sister, Sophie Briggs, who is now living this quiet, unassuming life thanks to Daniel's radical protection.
And Chloe gives Sophie her engagement ring. This gesture is so powerful.
It symbolizes the end of Daniel's painful connection to the Davis family secret, and it validates his protective actions. It confirms that his love was true, even if it was complicated by this deep secrecy.
By giving Sophie the ring, Chloe is granting her own internal hope, the chance for a new, untainted life, free from the shadow of monstrous family members. A life Chloe herself is now fighting to claim.
She acknowledges that Daniel's motivation was protection, not malice, a benevolent secrecy starkly opposed to the malicious secrecy that had defined the Davis family dynamic for so long.
So, our deep dive into the life of Dr. Chloe Davis has revealed a terrifying reality. The psychological burden of inherited trauma is not merely an internal struggle.
No, it is a blueprint for external chaos, constantly drawing the afflicted back to the source of their pain.
Chloe's intense paranoia, her sense of being watched and hunted, it was completely validated.
It was, but the source of her fear was perfectly misdirected. She spent all her energy focusing on the stranger, Aaron Tyler, and the devoted fiancé, Daniel, and her criminal father.
While the true darkness was hidden in the blind spot of absolute familial trust, her older brother.
Her ability to finally see and act on that truth is what breaks a toxic, murderous cycle 20 years in the making.
And this leaves us with the ultimate question of cost and loyalty. Chloe's father chose to spend his life in prison to save his monstrous son, Cooper. He paid the highest imaginable price for familial love and, I guess, containment.
So if your own child or sibling were revealed to be the darkness, the monster lurking in the dark, what specific price would you pay to try and contain that evil?
Would you choose justice or the lie?